Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Listen, we are excited to be here. We're excited to be here. Real Estate Sips with Sandy and Shay. And today we're talking kingdom business.
Yes.
I love this one, y'all, because it ain't all, just about real estate, but it's talking about business and business integrity. And when I mentioned this to Sandy earlier, I said, this is a great topic for you because I am blessed to have a great broker that operates in integrity. So we want to talk a little bit about integrity and what that looks like in the real estate market and doing business with not only real estate, whatever business you do or have, you got to move in integrity if you want God's favor on your life.
Facts
and on your
all day.
Listen, on your business. So we want to talk a little bit about that. So
did y'all miss us? We had to take a little break.
Yes, we did.
I had a birthday.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. She's still looking young. I want to be like her when I grow up.
Oh my, listen, I love the hair. Her hair matches her eyebrows.
I tried.
How cool is that? And we did not even plan this. Look.
And listen, we didn't. So we.
Does that mean I'm a cougar?
Yeah. No.
Wait, is this a leopard?
Leopard, I think.
It's a leopard.
I don't know what we are. We the cheetah girls.
Cheetah girls. Yeah.
You remember that show? No.
We don't cheat.
Absolutely.
So now that we've established I'm not a cougar and we're not cheaters, we're going to talk about some cheaters because today we're talking about integrity.
Yes,
right?
Yes. And we got to talk about this because in this business, you see some stuff that's going to be, if you're a good person and have a good heart, you'd be like, it just, what? And it just like, oh my God, it just bother your spirit. You might go praying. You might be, if you got a relationship with God, because we are believers and we do real estate. There are believers that do real estate. And sometimes, we convicted for not saying anything and we can't say anything. It's just an uncomfortable situation, believe it or not.
Very uncomfortable. I actually used to think that, because I used to hear people say that real estate agents are like car salesmen. And car salesmen, if you know anything about them, a lot of them are so crooked. And there are some good people in that industry too that have told me that they couldn't sleep at night.
Oh, wow.
So they literally had to, God force them out of that line of business. So now we find ourselves in real estate and we're being compared to car salesmen.
Right. Right. And it can feel the same. The pressure.
Yeah. Shout out to my car dealer.
Come on.
Over at BMW. Y'all hook me up.
Listen, I love it.
I think so. What Shay and I decided to do, sorry, I got my paper on the table. I was hungry, but we wanted to talk about integrity because there are things that we experience along the way, and we really just want to put that good energy out there and to remind you guys that it's so important to be integral in your dealings. Yes. Because if nobody else is watching you, God sees. And we're not ashamed to say that because people, when they want the real estate deals and they want the contract, they want to win the contract, they want the seller to select them, or they want their house to sell fast, they're always calling on God. So we don't have any shame. We live this life. We live a life of faith. We present our offers to sellers in faith. We represent our buyers in faith. We're always praying. But there is so much wickedness.
It is
in this field. So much wickedness. So story time.
And before she even get into the story, I just want to say it's not always, before her story, it's not always about closing the deal. Yes, not always. And I know to some companies that's like a cuss word. Like, what? Yeah. It's all about closing the deal. What are you talking about?
It's all about business as usual.
Right. But we're talking about integrity, that sometimes you have to do the right thing and the deal just won't close. It is what it is.
And it ain't got to be a real estate deal. It could be any part of your daily going in and out of life. It doesn't have to always be real estate, right?
And it's crazy because I seen a fellow realtor on Facebook, and we're friends, and she mentioned something like that. She was like, all money ain't good money, and she was just like, this is a hard topic. We might have to do a show on this one, but she said about how realtors can get dropped at any time.
Yes.
She said, but we can drop buyers and clients and customers. And it was
Yes.
a lot of realtors under there. And I was listening like, woo, this is
Yes.
a good topic here.
Because even at Promised Land, we don't work with just anybody. We really don't. We don't like to work with dishonest people.
See?
Because we're in alignment with all money ain't good money.
Yes.
We're definitely on that frequency.
Yes.
But Shay, this story I'm about to tell you guys hurt my soul so much. It really did.
Yes, it did. I remember.
It hurt my entire soul. But it reminded me of the battle that we fight. You know, it's not against flesh and blood, you know,
right,
but a spiritual wickedness in high places. And people, all right, let me just tell you. So I had a listing. I was selling a house. I'm going to try to speak as layman as possible so you guys can follow me that are not familiar with real estate. Those of you who are, you know, we're here. But I was selling a house and we went on a contract, and it was with a company that starts with a K. I'm not going to call any names, but the name of that real estate company is a very, very big company, and it starts with the letter K. Now, I know there's a few out there, so don't go digging because you won't know. Just remember it's K. Anyway, so we got on the contract with one of their agents. Mm-hmm. And the agent kept telling me, oh, Sandy, I'm so glad to be working with you. I just love your energy. Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you for choosing my offer. And I'm like, cool. Look, I'm not being egotistical. I do hear that all the time, you know. So I thought it was nice that she felt the same way. So we get into the contract. We get into the process. Everything's going. And we hit a little snag to where I have to relive this. Mm-hmm. We hit a snag where the appraisal came back $30,000 lower than what?
That's a lot, right? Yeah.
It's a lot than what I had put the price of the property for. Mm-hmm. $30,000 is a lot of money, you know, and it's not like we overpriced the property. I really did do the comps in the area. Mm-hmm. So maybe I thought maybe I would have been maybe like 10,000 off, because in real estate, everything is negotiable. But there were some discovered issues with the property, and so that caused the price to be lower. And in the contract, the buyer had already agreed, because if you're in the seller's market playing the game, the buyer had already agreed to put $15,000 on top of whatever the appraisal value came back.
Right.
So we already knew we had that $15,000. So we're moving along, and then the title company finds out, well, hey, you know, this property has this lien on it, this mortgage on it. This car company sued the owners, and that's attached to the house. So they had all these bills attached to the house.
So many.
And there was a second mortgage attached to the house.
Yes, it was.
So we as agents, when we're sitting down with you in a listing appointment, we can only pretty much go by what you show us, the documents you present to us. So if there's anything that you're not disclosing, it's going to pop up if you have a good title company.
Come on.
Like we use Debbie over at Weston. They're gonna find that stuff. We didn't use Debbie on this deal, but a good title company will find all the liens attached to the property.
Correct.
And so that is what happened. And it came back that the people that I was representing, selling their home, that they owed so much on the property, they weren't even able to pay the realtors. So, you know, in the transaction, if you've been watching our videos, the seller is the one that pays the commission for both real estate agents. Right. So they didn't have enough money to even pay the realtors. So I was letting the buyer's agent know this from that company that starts with a K. I said, hey, we got a problem here. You know,
we ain't getting paid.
We ain't getting paid. There's no bacon coming home.
Some ain't right.
Yeah.
But
so
no,
that's the worst thing you can say to
a realtor.
To an agent.
Yeah.
I'll say an agent and an agent. That's the worst thing you can say, because you know we we work hard and then we're waiting for that money to come through. Some of us have bills backed up for months that we're just waiting on that commission check to get caught up. You know, that's why you see realtors fuss a lot about don't try to discount their commissions because, you know, we have responsibilities too.
Just as anyone else.
I told the agent, she's like, oh, that's not good. And I said, well, I have an idea. I said, since your buyer was going to put $15,000 over the appraised value anyway, why don't we just reduce the price of the home to whatever the appraisal value is, then take that $15,000 that she was going to pay and put it in a pot so that the realtors could get paid. Because remember, the sellers have to pay the realtors, okay? Nobody's in here working for free. Sometimes we're very given at Promise now. We'll help our buyers and we'll help our sellers out sometimes with some cash and closing, you know, but the whole pot, when you could really negotiate and see if you could come to some kind of medium or median agreement. So the agent says, no, that cannot happen. The buyer cannot pay for our commissions. Your seller needs to come up with the money. I said, well, they don't have it. You don't understand. They're selling this house because if they don't sell it, the bank is going to take it. So I convinced them to actually sell the house to avoid a foreclosure and to avoid a short sale, which honestly, when I did it I prayed. I had to pray for guidance. Right. Because so much time had passed and the companies were already filing these lawsuits against them. So I had to make sure that even the title company I used, that they were attorney cladded, you know, made sure that they were, and it was an attorney that I knew and had a working experience with and knew that they knew and were on top of their game. Right. So in that instance, what happened, the agent refused. She says, well, let's just make up a fake contract. I'm like, what do you mean?
Not integral.
So, a fake contract. So apparently the person that I was representing owed a certain amount of money to one of their mortgage companies. And it had to be a certain amount that was due to the mortgage company, but the appraisal just threw everything off. So the K letter company agent said, let's make up a fake contract. And I said, are you really being serious? You're saying that to me? I said, no, we're not doing that. I said, look, it's the weekend. Let's take the weekend and pray about it. Let's meet back up on Monday. You tell me what you come up with, and I'll tell you what I come up with, you know? So all of that passed. And I said, look, the only way that I see this happening, you have to tell your buyer that her $15,000 is going to cover our commission. I said, it's not going to pay the full commission. Right. I'm willing to take a $4,000 loss. Okay. But let's use the 15. You're going to get all of your commission. I'll get the rest. And for the $4,000, you know, I'm willing to lose that. So
that is Sandy Hart. She does it. That's not that she does that all the time. Don't come trying to use.
Okay, no, we talking about
listen, God will expose that heart. But she does. She have a heart to help, and that was a very great deed.
And then one of the one of the conditions to the contract also was that the seller was going to give $7,000 to the buyer. Because they had reconfigured the garage and a couple of other things. So, you know, we had agreed to that previously to give the buyer that credit. So I said to her that Monday, I prayed about it. So Monday, meeting of the minds, we're on the phone, and I said to her, well, have your buyer, let's repurpose this $15,000 over appraised value. Let's repurpose it towards a commission. And also, we are going to renege on giving the buyer the $7,000. Right. So she's like, oh, I already told my buyer that we were taking back, that you guys were going to take back the $7,000, you know, and she was okay with that. But there's no way that I can go and tell her now that the $15,000 over appraised value is going to be used to pay real estate commissions. I can't do that. So what they did was, they drew up, her and her broker drew up an addendum, which is a change of the contract, drew up an addendum And they gave it to the buyer to sign, and it read, I didn't see the document physically. I'll tell you how I found out about it. They did all of this without me knowing, but that's between them and their client, the buyer, right? So it was a buyer and a broker agreement. And they gave that buyer a document to sign that says that the buyer agrees to pay that company $15,000 administration fee. So what are they doing for $15,000 that the buyer has to pay them that?
Right.
So they were going to take that $15,000 from the buyer, and then at the end of the transaction, they would pay the commissions to both myself and their realtor. I knew nothing about that. Okay. How I found out about it was right before closing. The lender, they used to be one of my trusted lenders, and they still are. Oh my God. So Hamilton Home Loans, I could call that name because whenever companies do the righteous thing,
integral,
I don't mind calling their names. And I actually had to make a phone call to my girl Candace, and she got to the bottom of it. And they were like, there is no way, this is against RESPA, this is illegal, you cannot charge your buyer $15,000. And how Hamilton even found out about it, the buyer didn't know she wasn't supposed to tell anybody.
Right.
They were just going over her final numbers, and she goes, oh, and something like, don't forget that I have to pay $15,000 to that company that starts with a K. And they're like, Hamilton's like, what?
Wow.
What? So I left out a lot of the lies that this agent told. It's just a little bit too much for me to regurgitate it. Right. But she lied throughout the whole transaction, and she kept getting caught. So finally I said to her, listen to me. If we're going to finish this, let's finish in truth. She goes, oh, but you're talking about prayer. You're talking about praying and having faith. My buyer needs to get into that house. And I said, yeah, but she's not going to get in there with all your lies. She's not going to get in there with your manipulation and your illegal activities that's going to really get on my wrong side.
Right.
Okay. And we're not going to have a deal. I said, you tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. So she did humble herself. She told me the truth. She told me the truth. I got her to tell me the truth over the phone. She says, well, Sandy, when you guys took back the $7,000 to make from the buyer, she wasn't too happy about it, but we know that there was no way we could have gone back to her and now tell her that she's going to be paid for the commissions for the realtors. I said, well, she says, my brokerage would never have done anything illegal. So come to find out, she's only been in the business 2 years. And she told me to go ask my broker because I just didn't know what I was talking about.
I remember that.
She said, oh, well, you need to go and ask your broker. So all this time, I never told her that I was the actual owner and broker of the company. I kept that because she should have known. We're doing emails back and forth. So, I let her shade me because I wasn't focused on that. I was focusing on how can we come to an agreement to move this deal forward. Right. So in the end, Hamilton made them cancel. They said, we're not closing unless you cancel that addendum. That's illegal. That we're not taking part in that. And she had even lied on them about some stuff. And it turned out everything came out in the open. So your lies catch up to you.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So in the very end, when everything was said and done, the buyer did need to move in. And I did tell her that I was going to do everything in my power to see if my sellers could move out a little early so the buyer could come in. But we ended up having to close the transaction in escrow because one of the companies was still fighting my seller. They didn't want to give a payoff. They wanted more money that was just going to really make everything go downhill. So the attorney that we hired was trying to still negotiate that. So we did close in escrow. They ended up giving the buyer the key, and the buyer moved into the house, and we weren't even fully closed. Yeah. And she promised me, I said, I gave the key to their title company. I said, do not hand over these keys until we have reached a final negotiation with the second lien holder. Oh, we would never do anything like that. We don't give buyers keys. Well, they did over the weekend. The buyer moved in. So the sellers just happened to go by their property to pick up mail, and they saw the buyer in the house painting.
Oh my God.
I
And
was
it
like,
ain't even close.
what?
That's just so much.
So needless to say, they were livid. They were like, Sandy, why is this buyer in our house painting? We didn't get this, and we didn't sign our documents.
This was a messy transaction. This one
Very
was messy.
It was stressful, and I had to pray a lot. It was messy. This woman, and if you go on Google, because I was gonna write a bad review for her, and I still may. I contacted her broker, and it didn't make a difference. He basically told me that I needed proof of her telling me that we need to do a fake contract. I also had no proof that they had written up an addendum between themselves and that buyer for $15,000. See, here's the thing, Shay. An admin fee, you have to show that you have to have done some work for that. And if you're charging one person $15,000 for admin
what
fee,
did you do?
What did you do? You need to be charging every buyer that same $15,000.
True that.
There was nothing that they could have proven that they did for that buyer that amounted to $15,000. So that's a violation of RESPA. Okay. Usually an admin fee ranges anywhere from, it could be anything. It could be from $100 to $600. I don't know. People have their different admin. Our admin fee at Promised Land is $295, and it's way under what we really should be getting. But we're not out here trying to drain people's pockets like vampires, sucking for blood. We're not out here trying to do that.
We like to help people. And I want to say, because I've seen in this transaction, I've seen where it was almost like Sandy cared for the buyer more than the buyer's
own agent. Yes.
And she was like, I'm trying to help your buyer.
No,
I was
you're trying to help yourself.
I was a witness of that conversation that time where you was like, I'm trying to help your buyer for you, and and she was like, well, she was more concerned about her commission.
Yes.
And it was, and that was just, to me, I was like, oh my God, I was getting like, oh my God, you don't care about your buyer? Like
your own buyer.
So, and I just remember in that conversation one time, I don't know what happened, but I do remember one time, it was just a $500 difference in commission. And she was like, oh no, not going to happen for your buyer, for your seller. Sometimes you got to be willing to lose a little bit, and it's okay. I'm not telling you to do this all the time, but when it's helping somebody that's in a serious situation, the buyer was in a situation of desperate need of a home. Mm-hmm. The seller was in a situation of bankruptcy, the system coming for her. Yeah. And you already got deals. I remember that conversation.
She said she closed 10.
I got 10 deals already. I was like, well, you don't need this $500. So I'm gonna be honest. That was a moment for me where I literally had to go in prayer. I see stuff like that. I was like, oh Lord. So
what I'm gonna look forward to.
Right. So I'm a witness, and that you can't do business, and I'm telling you, with everybody. Everybody is not as integral as you or have your heart.
It affected me in a way, because do you know that anytime it was weird. All right. So I was gonna go and say, if you go on Google and you search her name, she has nothing but 5-star reviews. So I said, there is no way she could be this negligent, this incompetent, and she's closing 10 deals.
And doing this.
So I figured out, I did a little research in my police background, girl. She's connected to that broker. And he's kind of up there. He's an instructor. He owns the company or that branch, because it's a very big company. Okay. But, I said, God, I have to pray. I had to pray, and I put it in God's hands. And I said, I hope she gets caught. I'm still,
And that is not, I want to just say that is not in an evil way. Oh, I want her to get caught. But we don't,
you guys.
But it's to protect buyers and sellers from, I like to call them vampires, blood-sucking vampires.
Listen, the buyer in that transaction, she wrote a review on her. And the review is heavenly. But if she only knew
Oh
She
my
tried to
God.
screw her.
Right.
The review
Wow.
was heavily. So don't be fooled by if you go on Promised Land may only have 14 reviews. That's because I don't make it a point for everybody to give a review. The Bible says that you got to be careful when too many speak too good of you.
Come on.
Okay. So I've never been caught up in just getting people to give me a review for my business. If some of them don't even know how to use a computer, but they have bought houses and houses, their families bought. They're really concerned
Some people
about
just don't do reviews.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm one. You got to tell me to do the review.
Yeah.
And you know,
I don't tell them.
And I'll do it. Like the people on the phone, they got to tell me, could you do this survey? And because of my heart, I might say, sure. And then I'm like, oh my God, I gotta be a woman of my word. I'll be tempted to hang up, but I can't. It's integrity. I just told them the truth that I made an oath.
Yes.
With my word. So it's some people that just ain't into that, you know.
That's true.
So you can't go always based on reviews.
You cannot.
Because there's a lot of small companies that are very great and amazing at excellent service, you know. Yes. But people
integral.
Right. And just don't have the reviews that a bigger or larger company does. So
yes.
Don't be into
and
all
those
of that.
companies. And then think about it, guys. If she is that dishonest, who's to say that those reviews weren't paid for or coerced? Because she's got all five. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that she's a 5-star realtor, or her company is a 5-star realtor. Because she got me to the point where I actually started looking into the company, and I realized some of the agents told me that, look, if we didn't have to deal with her or deal with certain people at that company, we wouldn't. But we're there because we're trying to grow our business. They're just like tolerating it. Right. But we don't tolerate. If you stand for something, or else you'll fall for anything. And then when when things start to roll downhill, then you're going to be implicated. You're going to be caught up in all of that drama, right? Because your broker or agents that you are aligned with in a certain company are dishonest. I told myself I would never do business with that branch again. Because like I said, they're everywhere. But how about God? Let me tell you, God is so funny.
God, don't never say never.
I wrote them off, girl. I wrote them off. And the very next week, I had another property in Jacaranda that I put on the market. And an agent from that same company. I'm like, where are these people coming from? I've never even heard of this company. I just had a really bad deal with them. And now another agent from that same company. But let me tell you, this woman changed my mind. She was sweet. You can't just integrity, humility. We're going out for drinks. That we hit it off, and she said, "Beautiful." And I ended up telling her what happened.
You know why though? Because and you know, y'all know we believers, but God couldn't allow your heart to be contaminated because you move in purity, and that keeps the favor and bring the increase and things like that. So he just made sure, let me gonna get this out before it gets rooted. Yeah. So that's the first thing she had to sip. She had to take that medicine.
Yeah, because the deal didn't even work out. We accepted her contract, and I'm like, Lord, I can't believe I'm going back into business with this company, but this woman is different. So we ended up, we even shared personal things outside of business. Mm-hmm. You know, we just really hit it off. So the deal didn't work out, but she's like, Sandy, I want to stay connected. I'm like, me too, you know. So she's one of my girlfriends now. And that's so funny.
And that's a beautiful ending of a story. Yeah. And the fact too, I just want to say that they got that messy deal closed. So even though it was all of that, they were still able to close and they were able to be helped. Yeah. So I love the ending. I love that it just worked out. All things worked out for the good. Yeah. And then last thing I just want to say.
We didn't have to write a fake contract. We didn't have to trick nobody.
We ain't have to lie and all of that stuff. But last thing, because since we talk about business integrity, sometimes this with client note. Business integrity, even with a client, is like, do not bring us no fake check stubs. Do not bring us. I know, but that's just like all of that goes with business integrity. Yes. A realtor can say, I don't want to work with you because this ain't lining up. If they catch something, that is not integrity. That's not integral, so they may not want to work with you. So things like that. sometimes the client will
I
want us
caught
to do
Yeah, I'm like,
things that goes against, like, no, we can't do that. We can't put that. We can't say that. We can't do that. So, you know, so that's another way. You got to have wisdom on
Please don't
educating.
bring me anything.
Look, educating your client on integrity and accountability and being responsible. And that's just what I'm saying.
Stop doing anything for $1.
And we're gonna drop the mic. But so you finished? What do you feel?
Yes.
So
I'm finished. And I hope you guys have a blessed, prosperous, productive day, and all of your desires in your real estate transactions. And it's okay. Your everyday life will continue to be blessed.
Absolutely. So we're gone, you guys. We're going to see you guys next time. And listen, this is going to be, we're going to talk about business and relationships, and we're going to continue to be here. So join us.